welcome back, everybody. It's the SCB Steelers Podcast presented by Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. And, I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of the way right now. Deck, don't forget, serves Broward and the southern Palm Beach counties, whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, multifamily, or condos. Contact
or
Deck
multifamily.
Roofing today by visiting deckroofing.com. Multifamily, baby. They can do it all down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No gutters anymore. He just does roofs now.
No more gutters, huh?
Nope.
I would think the gutters would be a strong industry in Florida. It rains like a son of a bitch down there.
They are, but I guess it was just the cost to do it plus the labor. It didn't make good sense to keep doing it. He was making more money just on the roof. So,
well, we should probably talk some football.
Yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, yeah, and I gotta send the link over to everybody too. The Pittsburgh Steelers won this past weekend in week 2 of the preseason. Well, they sure did. It was a very exciting 16-15 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars, a come-from-behind win led by Mason Rudolph with the big touchdown pass to Tyler Snead.
It was kind of unfair. I mean, it was basically Mason, who is legitimate backup, throwing a bunch of guys that are going to be bagging groceries in 2 weeks. That wasn't fair, in my opinion.
No, I mean,
that's just me. I mean, and Tomlin said as much after the game. And then the people that really, really love Mason were like, see, he's going to be the starter. See, I'm like, dude, you realize those were fourth team guys he was playing against, right?
And to his credit, he didn't, Mason handled himself very well all week.
Mason's been saying the right things for a long time.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph, the person I take no issue with, and I don't know why people do.
I don't either.
It's weird. They hate his guts because because he likes Trump. Okay, fine. Yeah. And because
is that confirmed or is that just conjecture?
No, it's true. And and what else? What else is the nitpicky thing people go after him for?
Well,
the Trump
I
thing.
think they've always gone after him just because he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Ben.
And well, yeah, for sure. That's where it started. That's where it started. Colbert came out and said the first round grade. Colbert comes out and says,
him no justice.
We had a first round grade on him. Well,
correct, Ryan. I think
that was
correct.
A mistake.
Huge.
Even though he was a third round pick, and the current first round pick on the team that they traded up to get looks like he doesn't care at all.
True.
Another game of that, and I wish him well. I won't boo him, but he looks like he cannot wait to get out of Pittsburgh. And I started to wonder if maybe they rushed him back before he felt comfortable to be back. And that has hurt him. That has hurt the team. And I think perhaps maybe he does not feel like the Steelers are on his side. That's just the thought I had over the weekend.
I see a guy, and I think the term is gingerly. He steps sometimes with that leg in a gingerly manner. Yeah. He just doesn't put the foot in the ground and goes. And again, it's just an observation. I could be totally wrong.
I mean, he could still be having problems with the knee. It would be a surprise this long after, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. And mentally, he may not be recovered.
Yeah, it may have to do more with how he injured it too, because when he injured the knee, he kind of had overrun the play and tried to cut back, and all that strain of the momentum of his body got put on his knee, and that's what where the injury came from. So it may be that he's afraid to make that cut again, running at full speed.
And he started the game. He looked very aggressive, kind of assertive. And then he blew the heck out of somebody up on a blitz, I think a running back or something. And it's like, whoa, he looks like Devin Bush again. And then it wasn't 2 plays later, he's right kind of back to
The
some
tight
of the
end
stuff.
took him for a ride.
The tight end took him.
Absolutely.
The tight end, that was embarrassing.
Yep. And so I just, as Chuck Noll used to say, time to get on with your life's work. And I think that's sad. It's unfair to the young man, but at the same time, he's becoming a liability.
Well, the overriding, the big picture thing to me is, again, what we were talking about last week. He's not really separating himself any from Spillane. And Robert Spillane is not good. He's not. He's a legitimate NFL backup. He's a two-down linebacker. Yep. That is it. He is not good. And if Bush can't separate himself from that, he's not good.
Well, just welcoming in Steelers Freak. He's our first visitor tonight. He said start Robinson with Jag. I like Robinson a lot. I'm not ready to go there yet, but
no, neither am I. But
but I do like what I see. Absolutely.
To Mark Robinson's credit, Vince Williams says that he's better. He's a better rookie than Vince Williams was. I mean, he doesn't practice with the guy every day, but he's watching games.
But Vince
he's comparing himself to that.
Vince got the start because Larry Foote blew out his bicep, and
that's right.
The game
right.
That was the don't remind me of 2013. But for Vince, for Vince to say that, I do think that
was that
carries
12 or
weight.
13?
That was 13.
That was 13.
Yeah.
God, that was an awful defense. Oh God.
Yeah, but for Vince to say that, I think that does carry weight, and I think that that does mean something. And Vince has also been a big advocate for Devin Bush. So, I mean, I as a former, not me as a former player, but Vince being a former player, I don't take the things he says lightly. I think that I think that he's trying to obviously protect Devin, which I would understand as well. Again, it's unfortunate circumstances, but also for him to say that about Mark Robinson, I do think that means something. And I'm not saying that Mike Tomlin's on Instagram now, but he's on Twitter. But he's been on Twitter, now he's on Instagram. But no, I think that Vince doesn't really say shit to say shit, so. I think that
might be the most important part of that, Ryan. He's not hyperbolic. I mean, he just kind of says what he thinks, leaves it at that. As far as the game goes, look, the offensive line was the overwhelming discussion topic coming out of that. I mean, let's be real honest. It was the discussion topic 10 minutes into the freaking game, for crying out loud.
It's been the discussion topic since the end of the fucking season. And they haven't done much to improve it. I mean, come on. No. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. What did they do?
Well,
they signed James Daniels, who's supposed to be a good player.
Right.
He looked like dog shit on Saturday. He looked awful. I'll just put it out there. I mean, he was awful. Mason Cole, I didn't expect much. I watched his film, and he's been not much. And we knew who Kendrick Green was last season. And he looks awful too. And then Dan Moore, I really thought the ass whippings he took last year and then a whole off season of training and lifting and just working on himself, working on his game, was going to make him at least a competent tackle. He looks bad, man. He just looks flat out awful. He's another one who's getting taken for rides into the backfield on a regular basis. I mean, at least he's getting in the guy's way, unlike Kendrick Green, who just whiffs on pass rushers. But, he's
too small. His arms are too short.
So let's do this. Let's start over on that left side.
Dan Moore?
Kendrick Green.
Green put up less resistance than a turnstile.
He's also slow. I don't understand why Kendrick Green is so slow. You watch his college tape, he was a lot quicker.
Give me Trey. I take Trey Turner right now as an upgrade.
Yeah, over Green? Oh, my God, please. And then Kevin Dotson, what the fuck, dude? Get healthy, please. My God.
He ran with the ones this week. Again, he's still nursing the ankle to an extent. But
wrap that shit up.
Right. But if you start with Dan Moore and you work your way across the line, Dan is overpowered. I don't know.
Johnny.
And by the way, Ben, what are you drinking? Otis would like to know.
Johnny knows what the fuck you know what?
Oh.
Here it is, dickhead.
It's a can of
Cloud Mentality.
There we go. Cloud
You're
Mentality.
Talking to Otis like you know him.
I do.
Right. Oh, okay. You know
Otis. Otis, he loves
Otis. He loves
When you know somebody in real life, you can flip them off when you're on a podcast.
Dexter Lake Club, man.
I love it. But yeah, Green's been awful. Moore has struggled big time. Mason Cole he's been in the way. Daniels has been a disappointment. So that leaves us with Chooks, and if Chooks is your most consistent offensive lineman right now, and no offense, Chooks, you're working hard, brother.
I know, man.
It ain't good.
No, I mean Chooks. When Chooks is your bright spot, your line is awful. I mean,
yeah.
The nicest thing I can say about Mason Cole is he's not as bad as Kendrick Green was at center.
No.
But that's really, really fucking low bar.
So it's worth asking though, because I said last week on the show that I thought the second team O line was better than the first team O line.
Mm-hmm.
Against second teamers though.
Okay, but at what point is it the next preseason game? Do you give Joe Haig a shot to start at tackle instead of Dan Moore? And Joe Haig's not good, but
he's in concussion protocol.
Okay.
Oh, is he?
Joe Haig, I believe so. Yeah.
So that's probably going to wipe him this week.
Yeah,
for sure.
And at what point do you think about making that switch? Because no, it's fine. But the question's still there: is at what point do you think about making that switch and going from Moore to Haig? Haig's not good, but he's been around the league long enough that he's kind of a career backup. But I feel like he could hold his own more than Dan Moore has so far this preseason. I don't think they'll do it week 1. I think they'll give Moore a couple games. But remember, they gave Mike Adams 4 games, and those were a disaster.
That was pretty bad.
Lying.
Yeah, not to go back to the 2012, 2013 seasons again, but that was bad. But I don't know. At what point is a journeyman backup? It's kind of the same question that we're asking about Devin Bush and Robert Spillane, right? Joe Haig is the Robert Spillane of offensive tackles. He's not great, but is he good enough? Is he passable and consistent enough to make up for the wild disparities of Dan Moore's whatever he's doing out there right now?
And likely you're not going to find anybody on the market.
You're not going to find a left tackle.
No.
What?
And then if you bring in Isaiah Wynn,
are you kidding me? Steelers Twitter says just go out and get somebody.
Yeah, just like you're ordering a pizza.
Get somebody.
No.
You can order Jonathan Ogden. You can order Jonathan Ogden.
Pacelli's available.
Yeah, you can order. Yeah, you can order Jonathan Ogden or a prototype of Jonathan Ogden from a clone factory, and it's no problem.
Sure,
you just bring the guy in. You don't even have to pay him.
He's going to work for free.
You can pay him in Primanti sandwiches.
Yeah. He just
wants
to be a steal.
No, Ben. Lights.
Exactly. If you want to really go Steelers Twitter on it, let's trade, Devin Bush and Chase Claypool and Mason Rudolph for a starting tackle. Because sure, some team's going to make that.
Absolutely. Trade. I don't even think Madden 23 would make that trade.
Probably right. But
honestly, I don't think it would. But it's a mess. And do I think it needs time to come together? You're dealing with a new coach. Sure. I'll give you that a little bit. But at the same time, we should be seeing something better. I mean, they went from 184 yards rushing against Seattle to
maybe just hear me out. Maybe for the last 3 seasons, they should have prioritized the fucking offensive line during the draft instead of skill positions.
Okay.
I've only been saying this for 3 fucking years.
So let's look at it this way. I agree with you. They should have addressed it more. But who do you draft in place of the guys we drafted?
Creed Humphrey.
Well, you could take Creed Humphrey instead of Freiermuth, which, Freiermuth would be playing someplace else and people would be pissed because Penn State and blah, blah. but you'd have a really, really good fucking center for starters.
Okay.
And given the fact that that's the linchpin of your line, you'd be in really great shape there.
So we're
honestly,
saying,
I would have traded back. I would have traded out of the first round and not drafted Najee for that matter. I would have tried to.
Right.
You could
even take Creed Humphrey with a late first rounder, and nobody would have batted an eye. I have no idea how he lasted as long as he did in that draft.
Linderbaum was available at 20 this year.
Yeah, he was. You know, he's already hurt, right?
Does that mean he would have gotten hurt with the Steelers?
Maybe not. I don't know.
It's hard to say, but I mean,
different turf down there in Baltimore. Okay,
yeah,
that's where I
it's
work.
very different.
What are you saying? That
no. I'm just saying that like, and I understand that if you bring up the subject that the Steelers should have probably looked at the offensive line, people right away want to be like, well, who would you have drafted? Who would you? Right. So I'm just naming names.
That's a longer conversation because you need to go back through the drafts, see how they fell, see how the guys developed. Then try and second guess other teams who may have tried to jump in front of you because they had a feeling that you were going to take some guy that they wanted. There's a whole instinctive process that goes into all of that. It's not as simple as saying this guy definitely would have been there at this number.
Right.
I get that. That's why I'm just but we're just saying names right now.
Yeah.
But overall, we all agree that they should have prioritized offensive line.
They should have.
Yeah.
If they're going to trade up for a player, trade up for a fucking offensive tackle.
And here's how bad it is this year. And this is maybe the first year that I can remember this. The third team is so bad that they've been replaced.
Yeah.
And the third team has been so bad that nobody on the third team is pushing anybody on the second team. Yeah. And then nobody on the second team is pushing anybody on the first team. So, I mean, we're talking 3 lines of just shit. And that is not good. And the other day, Aditi Kinkle, if Aditi's listening, Aditi gave me a shout out on the radio on 93.7 The Fan the other day. We had a little exchange back and forth. Aditi is good people. And Aditi basically was like, isn't that a little weird considering like they did invest in a line for so long and it's, you know, it's AFC North football. And she's right. Like she basically said that Cleveland can roll out 2 lines right now. We know the Ravens can do that.
Yes.
We know the Ravens can do that.
Even the Ravens, to your point before with their shitty turf.
Yes.
You know, every douchebag who gets drafted by them is basically he is destined to be hurt at some point because he was drafted by a shitty, fucked up town. But setting that aside, no, I'm kidding.
No.
But setting that aside, you know, those 2 teams are deep. Even Cincy has got a good starting line, a really good starting line. Pittsburgh, nah, nothing.
I mean, like, would you not take La'el Collins right now?
Fuck yes.
And like, I'm just saying that, like, yeah, you know what? We can. Yes, I would. I don't wish. Well, I don't know if I wish or not, but we all kind of said that the Bengals aren't going to sign Jesse Bates because we kind of know how they operate, right?
Mm-hmm. They didn't.
They didn't.
Right.
But he showed up and he's going to play.
And showed up as soon as camp ended. He was like, okay.
Right.
And they can tag him again next year. And then maybe they can work something out, but it's going to be a hefty price. But anyway, getting back to it, but they absolutely went out this year and focused on the offensive line in the draft and in free agency. And you know what? The Steelers were like, we got Mason Cole, James Daniels. We're going to re-sign Chooks. And after that, you know what? Godspeed.
What was Ian? Why did they re-sign Chooks to what they did? What was the thinking behind that?
The thinking was that he was our most consistent lineman, and he's shown it so far in this preseason. But I mean, that's also the going rate for mediocre tackles in the league. I mean, tackles on both sides. You know, it used to be your left tackle was your anchor, the guy that you paid a ton of money to, and your right tackle was more of your mauler, your run blocker, that was the side you ran to. Mm-hmm. Now, so many teams have pass rushers that can come from both sides and they switch them up that your right tackle basically has to be as good of a pass blocker as your left tackle. And Chooks isn't a great pass blocker, and he's not a real good run blocker either, but he's consistent enough that, you know, I think they kind of felt like, okay, this is a line in transition. It's a line in flux. We need some kind of consistency here from year to year. And he was kind of the best one and had been a starter, and they probably got him for about what his market rate was going to be. It wasn't.
They definitely got him for his market rate.
Yeah.
They in fact they offered him a contract less than he was being.
Did they panic on him though?
Signed for.
No,
did they panic?
I don't think it was panic.
I didn't say that was the case at all, because basically it's a 1-year deal, Mark.
Right.
The guaranteed money's paid out and it's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically it's a 1-year deal worth roughly $9.5 million, and then you've got options on every year. 9.25. So you got options every year after that are team options. At any point, if they decide they're going to cut him, they just cut him and they're done.
All right. Sorry.
He does have roster bonuses that are due next year and the year after. So they need to make a decision early in the offseason if they're going to keep him or release him. And I'm sure his agent put that in there on purpose, which is smart. If you're an agent, you should do that. Give your guy a chance. Don't let him get cut on, in June or July because they need cap space. Make them invest $5 million, on March 17th.
So if we assume Dotson's the guy at left guard, is this Hopefully. the starting offensive line we're going to see week 1?
Yeah.
They're not moving. And Steelers Freak said basically the same thing I've been saying for a while, which is move Daniels to center, have Mason Cole and Green fight it out for the left guard spot, move Dotson to right guard, which is his natural position, and then let it play out, see what happens. They're not going to do that. They like James Daniel at right guard. They're leaving him there. Dotson is probably not competing with Kendrick Green because Kendrick Green's been awful.
Yeah.
And Mason Cole is super mediocre at center, and it is what it is, and that's where they're leaving him.
Is there
so one parting shot on this offensive line?
Sure.
The last time the line was this bad was arguably 2009, kind of phasing out of the Super Bowl year, right?
I was going to say last season when you said the last time.
Well, okay, but hear me out here, right? So we've talked about they need to invest through the draft. So what did they do over the next 3 draft classes the last time the line was this bad? They spent a first-round pick on Marquise Pouncey in 2010. They spent a second-round pick on Marcus Gilbert in 2011. And then in 2012, a first-round pick on DeCastro and a second-round pick on Mike Adams, which the Adams pick was an absolute mistake. They should have taken Levante David. But nevertheless, in the first 2 rounds of the draft, they took a center, a guard, and 2 tackles over a 3-year span. Like, that's what they need to do over the next few years.
Mike Adams was another one they said they had a first-round pick.
Yes, he was touted very highly.
Well, he wrote them a letter. That carries a lot.
No, he didn't write a letter. He drove to Pittsburgh, knocked on the door because he failed a drug test, and said, "I'm sorry, please draft me." And they said, "Okay, if you'll piss in this cup,
man, Mike is a great.
We might draft you." And he did. He took a piss test on the spot. And
Scarpino, at any time did you have that piss test in your hands?
What did it smell like?
Hey, me, man.
Asparagus?
No, but
they don't make the low guy of the totem pole carry around the specimen?
But I will say that there have been plenty of times when I'd come home after a road game and we'd have to have a quick turnaround, so I'd sleep on the trainer's table in the fucking training room. And I wake up and there'd be the drug tester just standing there, and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" And disgruntled, walking around, and then literally guys would filter in and be like, "Hey, need you for a minute." I'm like, "Fuck, dude, what a job that is, man." Yeah. Ian, and not to top you, but on the parting shot about the offensive line in 2018. I mean, I'm just going to say this. Call me an asshole, whatever. The Steelers drafted Terrell Edmonds in the first round, James Washington in the second round, then Mason, and then Chooks.
Yeah, and
Orlando Brown Jr., Zeus, got taken at 83.
Yes,
and listen.
No, they should have taken him instead of Mason because they traded Martavis Bryant for that Mason
because
pick.
Mason sucks.
That's fine. And like literally I'm a Mason supporter, but like when you got to that point, like the Ravens not back to back, but within a matter of like 5 or 6 picks drafted Zeus Brown and then Mark Andrews. And then they ended up trading Orlando Brown, but still they at least got something for that. So like that's that 2018 Steelers draft. And I actually am a Terrell Edmunds fan, but like James Washington's never panned out. Mason obviously is just fighting to stay on this team right now. And then Chooks got a nice contract, but like, so when people say like, well, who would you have drafted? That's a fucking clear one for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Mason over Orlando Brown. And also, who went 2 picks after James Washington?
I don't know.
Brian O'Neill, the tackle from Pitt, who just made the Pro Bowl in Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
And you know, that's another one that's like, I mean, not that many guys from the 2010 draft have made a Pro Bowl, or 2018.
No. I know, that's true.
2018 draft. Yeah. You don't get that many Pro Bowl. I know the Pro Bowl is a subjective thing, but you don't get that many Pro Bowl linemen in a draft class.
Yeah.
And, that one, we had shots at Orlando Brown. We had, I'm looking at it right now.
I mean, hindsight is 2020, and I get
absolutely,
that. I just wish they had placed more emphasis on the draft,
right,
on the line, excuse me, prior to trying to put together some patchwork bullshit this year. Well, we'll make something passable out of these 2 free agent additions, and it'll be fine.
Well, what's more than fine is our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Indeed.
The next generation of fantasy sports is here. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now. Sign up with promo code TPPN. Click the Rainmakers tile and opt in to get your first card free. Plus, play for millions in prizes all football season while building the ultimate NFT fantasy franchise with Rainmakers Football. That's promo code TPPN. Build, play, win only at DraftKings. Yes, that is Otis. That is true. Ben absolutely loves fantasy football, but we don't want to get him bullshit going on that. Quarterback play this past weekend.
Oh yeah.
Well. Now look, hey, quarterback play can't be discussed without discussing the offensive line, which we just spent 15 minutes doing.
Hey, but you know what?
Let's do.
You should have waited until later.
Probably
to have us talk about the offensive line. We would have been drunker and there would have been more screaming.
Well, we haven't got okay. Yeah. Anyway, Mitchell Trubisky played how many series? 3? Yeah, I think 3 series. Yeah. Did some scrambling, running for his life type stuff. He's not doing anything to me that would say, no, you can't start him. I mean, he's running the offense. He's doing all the right things. But
and let's not forget about Trubisky, too. He had a couple drives derailed by terrible penalties. The offensive pass interference call on Deontay Johnson was absolute trash.
That was terrible.
What was that?
That was, like, you cannot blame Trubisky for that drive not putting points on the board after they called that penalty on Johnson.
Totally agree.
I didn't even see what they were looking at. I was like, okay, so they saw something downfield on a guy that he didn't even touch.
And it was I think it was the back judge who threw it. So he had everything in front of him. And I think what happened is he saw the DB kind of stumble, slip, whatever.
Yeah.
And he kind of saw Johnson breaking back. He's like, oh, he clearly that's on him. And he threw it. But yeah, atrocious penalty. That's a great point.
Dog on that one.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But the refs have preseason too.
Which also
carries into the regular season and playoffs.
Yeah, pretty much. Carries into the first few weeks of the regular season, doesn't it?
And then of
course,
Super Bowl,
Kenneth Pickett came in. He took 8 snaps. He threw 1 incompletion, which was an intentional incompletion to stop the clock. And from that point, he threw a great throw to great pass to Deontay Johnson, which was called back.
Yeah.
And then hit Benny Snell, and Benny did a nice job getting into the end zone. And that was it. That was it for Kenny Pickett. Ben, were you surprised he only got 8 snaps?
No, I wasn't at all.
Okay.
I
thought it was a little light.
He threw one real nice pass in a situation where he had guys in his face. He had some pressure.
Is that the one to Freiermuth?
Kept his eyes. Yeah, he kept his eyes downfield. I think they'd seen enough, and they were done, so they yanked him. And then they, honestly, the way I read it was they wanted to give Mason a lot of playing time to try and up his trade value. Sorry, guys.
Well, and he got it.
It will not surprise me at all if they bench Mitch Trubisky this week and start Mason. And the Mason lovers will go, see, he's going to be the starter week 1. You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, look, I'm not going to lie.
I'm not at that fucking level right now.
that'll be Ryan.
I was thrown back a little bit by the release of the 7th round pick, Aludicon, whatever I'm sorry, I don't know the.
I think they just wanted to get to know who he was and what he was
and
like.
I'm good with that. But as we discussed in our Slack channel, you're not keeping Mason as a third string quarterback
at $3 million.
At
Probably
$3 million.
not.
Well,
why not?
Maybe
they might.
Because $3 million is a lot to spend on a third string quarterback when you can get something in return for him today, even if that is a 6th round pick. That's
the same 6th round pick or 7th round pick they draft fucking Chris Oladokun and he doesn't even fucking get a chance to compete.
Yeah, pretty much. But hey, I'll remind you that Vince Williams was a 6th round pick.
He was.
Okay.
Antonio Brown.
So then, okay, yeah.
Antonio Brown.
Kiesel Kimoyatu.
7.
Yep.
AQ Shipley.
7.
Ryan Mundy.
6.
They had Ryan Mundy did not suck.
Ryan Mundy was decent. Ryan Mundy was our second best pick in that draft
Ryan
class.
Mundy sucked.
Ryan Mundy had 2 degrees. Take that, okay? Let me tell you.
Cool for Ryan.
Huh?
I hope he's doing well in his real life after the fact, but he was
is.
not a great football player.
God damn, you're rude. No, I'm just no. So here's the thing then. For every shitty 6th round pick, there is a Kiesel. Or 6th or 7th round pick, there is a Kiesel. There is an AB.
I'd say you're more likely to have statistically, you know this, Ryan.
There's a Tom Brady.
But the 6th round picks, the Tom Brady is the extreme exception, okay? The James Harrison is the extreme exception. Most of your guys that are drafted late or undrafted are not going to do anything in the NFL. But every once in a while, there's a guy who's a gem, and you uncover that gem.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
So then,
sometimes his name's Quincy Roche, and you cut him. And
Quincy Roche, who then has a nice little thing going with the Giants.
Yeah.
Fucking dick.
So then let's stop the draft after 5 rounds then, and everybody's a fucking rookie free agent.
Oh, hey, it used to be 12.
All right. Sorry, Ryan. I talked over you. Go ahead.
No, Ian, that was me.
17 rounds.
It's like baseball.
All right. So getting back to the point is, and I said this, Mason did the same shit with 4th teamers or whatever teamers this week as Kenny Pickett did last week at Heinz Field, and yet one is the second coming of God, and this one is just, Mason should have done that because he's been in the league. Fine, I don't give a shit. Okay, Kenny Pickett once again had some nice throws. Okay,
yeah, he was fine.
And I'm going to repeat this: I never had a problem with Kenny Pickett the pick. I just didn't want him to go any QB in 1st round. So Kenny Pickett's had some nice throws, but how much of it is that we haven't seen any middle of the field throws in how long? Like when he threw that ball to Freiermuth, I was like, is that allowed? Like, is that okay?
Well, you're still living in 2021 2021, buddy. That is gone.
That throw to Freiermuth, that was a next level NFL throw. I mean, that was
nice.
Big time.
It was nice,
and it wasn't just the throw. It was that Benny Snell completely blew the blocking and let 2 guys run past him into Pickett's face, and Pickett could have easily thrown the ball away or just crumbled and taken a sack. But he stood in there under pressure.
Stood in
2
and
guys.
Delivered.
Yes.
Pickett
exactly.
was good in college, delivering between the numbers. Okay, that was never a question. The question about him always was his outside routes and his deep routes, and whether or not he could deliver those at an NFL level and not give the DB a chance to pick the ball off or deflect it.
So getting back to the game, I actually think that play where Mitch scrambled forever and should have been sacked, it hit Deontay Johnson right in the hands. He should have caught that.
Well, but it was difficult. He threw it a little bit inside. He had to come back for it.
Okay,
but I agree with you.
Call it a drop.
I agree with you. He had both hands on it. I'm not going to call it a drop. Okay. It was a difficult catch, but you just got paid $18 million a year, brother. Catch that fucking ball. Catch it.
So, the fact that the Steelers have like 3 quarterbacks where, you'd feel better if probably 2 of them started the game.
It's Heinz fucking Field, Johnny.
But you wouldn't feel terrible. You wouldn't feel terrible if Mason had to start a game. So that's my whole point is if this line sucks ass so much, and this is the truth, Mitch is not Ben in 2008. Okay?
No.
Remember that? Remember when Ben how about that? O-line. Listen, boss move by Ben, but Ben, even though he had a down year that year, it was still Ben. These guys aren't Ben.
No.
So, I'm done. I'm talking Roethlisberger, not Ben Anderson. But the point is, so if Mitch, it gets frazzled, and then it's like, oh, shit, man, I don't want to put Pickett behind this garbage. Okay, hey Mason, come on now. I mean, like I don't have a problem with that. Like, okay, they save $3 million if they cut him or trade him. If they can get a decent pick for him, great. But you know what? We're talking $3 million's $3 million. Like, what are they really going to do with that? What are they going to do with that? They already have that stuff allotted for like.
I mean, $3 million is basically what they always want to have set aside for the offseason to pick up additional players if they need space for 1-year deals.
But they definitely already have that on. They already have that.
At about 9
they do.
Right now.
They do. But here's the thing, Ryan. Here's the thing that people don't take into consideration about the salary cap. Okay, what you don't spend this year, you can roll into next year. And what you don't spend next year, you can roll into the next year before. And that's why these teams have $40 and $50 and $60 million in cap space, because they didn't spend all their money in previous seasons. And it just keeps rolling forward, and it snowballs. The Steelers are always up against the cap, so they never have any fucking space to roll into the next year. So if you save $3 million this year and you don't use it, guess what? You can use it next year. No problem. So it's not all about this season. It's not. It's not just about a question of whether or not you're going to recoup a draft pick, which you should, because Mason Rudolph sucks and it was a bad investment in draft picks. But setting that aside,
I get that.
You can save money today and use it in next year or the year after that and recoup a draft pick, which you need clearly.
The flip
you just
side
told
of
me
that,
7th round picks don't matter, though.
Ian, what?
Yeah, the flip side is.
I told you what?
We're good.
If you can spend the money this year on something that helps you win this year, it might be worth it, right? Mason is fine. He's okay. Like we've said this before on the show, there aren't 32 men in the world that can play starting quarterback in the NFL. There might not even be 25. Mason Rudolph is pretty clearly not one of those 25. He's probably in that next tier of being an acceptable NFL backup.
Yes, he is.
He's probably better than, a handful of backups around the league. He's not a starting quarterback. That said, getting paid $3 million to be a backup is about backup quarterback salary.
Pretty great gig.
But, okay.
Fuck yeah.
Where I'm getting is, but you have Kenny Pickett on a rookie deal. Pickett has shown enough that he could come in and play and not be any worse than Mason Rudolph would be. If you
agreed.
If you trade Mason, if you trade Mason and get the $3 million in cap space, let me make my fucking point, Ben. Shut up.
Ian, finish here.
Ian, my bad.
No, not you, Ryan. You're fine.
I'm arguing with Ryan, not you.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. If you trade Mason and just bank that $3 million for next year, it doesn't do anything to help you this year. Mason's going to walk after this year anyways. He's on the last year of his deal.
Yeah, he's gone.
He potentially gets you a compensatory pick coming back. So basically what you're looking for in a trade is a pick equal to or better than what that compensatory pick would be. And you also want to be able to spend that $3 million on someone who can help you this year.
Yes.
Whether that's an offensive lineman that somebody cut and hit free agency, whether that's like bringing Joe Hayden back to play cornerback if somebody gets hurt, whatever it is, you want to use it on something that can help your team this year. You don't want to just take that money and be like, oh, we got $3 million more now. We're just going to bank it for next year, because that's the kind of shit that losing franchises do. That's what the Jaguars do. That's what the Browns do. That's what the Bengals do. So use it on something that can help you this year.
Here's a question that we should answer. State of the Steelers asked, what's the comp pick they would get
if
for
Mason left?
Yes.
Next year, they might get a 6 or a 7, depending on what kind of a contract he signs. Yeah. Maybe,
right?
Maybe,
but
I would say it would be a 6th round comp pick. Yes,
because it's going to be based upon the quarterback market. It's not the overall market.
Yeah.
That's the thing we've learned over the years is you think a guy is going to be slotted at a certain spot because he's at this place where he's making $4.5 million or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I'm picking a roundabout number. But what it actually is they compare him to the guys in his position. And they go, oh, he's actually 47th highest paid. So what you thought was going to be a 5 is actually a 7. And you actually signed a guy who was a 7 as well. So those two cancel one another out and you get nothing.
So the one thing I'll say, just closing here, that in the current year's draft, picks are usually valued around a future year's draft is valued around ahead of the current year. So a 2024 7th has the equivalent value, let me back up. A 2024 6th has the equivalent value of a 2023 7th. So if you think you're going to get a 2024 6th round pick for him in compensatory picks, a 2023 7th is about equivalent value.
Do we know if he would be a compensatory pick?
No, you don't.
You don't know yet.
You don't know. I mean,
so that's what I'm saying.
Who's going to sign with? What he's going to sign for?
Right.
You don't know any of that. You're speculating.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No,
This is a good conversation, and Ian's made some really good points. I do want to say one thing about the question of whether or not Mason Rudolph is good enough or would be as good or better than Kenny Pickett. Pickett isn't just about when you go to your backup quarterback this year, right? You basically are saying, okay, we're not making the playoffs anyway. It is what it is. And let's get this guy some experience. When you got a young player like Pickett who's going to benefit by that time under center, it isn't just about how well he performs this year. It's also about the experience that he gains if you do end up playing him, which is another reason to play him over a Mason Rudolph, who is going to give you nothing next year when he is gone. And the other thing I will tell you is one of these days when Mason Rudolph leaves, whether that is in 2 weeks or next year, he's going to say, I feel a lot better for this. I needed a fresh start. It doesn't matter when it happens. That's going to be what he's going to say. He's done. And he said all the right things, and he's been a good player. I think he's probably been a good teammate.
Mm-hmm.
Some people weren't as good to him as he was to the team, but things just aren't working out for him in Pittsburgh.
No, I think
I don't disagree.
To be fair to Mason, he just needs a clean slate somewhere else.
Yeah.
I really. The other question too that has come up is, when will we see Kenny Pickett? And it's not a question that really has an answer that any of us can truly answer just yet. Now, we could look back on it in 6 weeks and say, see, I told you. But as of right now, we just don't know. So
I'll say this.
What do you think?
Yeah, so I said this, the show we did the night the Steelers schedule came out. You can go back and watch it. I said it on this show. Week 10 against New Orleans. The reason is we have a bye week 9. So you get 8 weeks of Mitch Trubisky to see what he's got. We have a bye in week 9. The New Orleans game's a home 1:00 game against a non-conference opponent, and those non-conference games are ones where the Steelers have typically been willing to do more things like, oh, a guy's got an ankle injury. If it was Baltimore, he would play, but we're playing the Lions, so he'll sit out this week. You know, so no tiebreakers for playoff stuff involved. But week 10 against New Orleans, and then you've got week 11, another home game against Cincinnati. That's the only spot in the schedule where you have back-to-back home games, plus with the bye week beforehand. That's basically like you got the bye week to work them in, so you'd have 2 weeks of practices. And I know they get some time off for the bye week, but nevertheless, you'd get the bye week, so you'd have 2 weeks to kind of work him in as a starter, plus followed by 2 home games in a row. Like, if I'm looking at the schedule, that's when I'm thinking about putting Kenny Pickett in.
I agree. Yeah, that's when it makes the most sense from a tactical standpoint to play him, give him as much advantage as possible, especially as you mentioned the 2 home games right after the bye.
And
completely agree.
Do you have to factor in though the fact that what if Trubisky is just awful through 3 or 4 weeks? I mean, can you wait until week 10?
I think the Steelers are going to have a really rough go the first 6 weeks.
It's a brutal schedule.
I think that, all of this 17-0, 20-0 Super Bowl after the first preseason game, everybody who is saying that is going to be freaking the fuck out after week 4, and it's going to continue into week 5 and 6. They're going to start 1-5 or 2-4. It's going to be rough, and it's not all going to be on Trubisky, but he's going to fuck up here and there. And Pickett being, a quote unquote hometown product, not really, but he played at Pitt. People are going to be clamoring for him to play just to see a spark on the offense. Even though the offensive line clearly is the weakest link on that unit, they're going to want him to play to try and improve things somehow. And, people will be playing armchair GM, armchair head coach, fire Tomlin, blah, blah, the usual bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be rough. It's not a what if to me. There's a very, very high probability that is going to happen. And
well,
if I'm Tomlin, I don't listen to it. I follow my instincts. I do not make a change unless Trubisky absolutely shits the bed.
I think you got to read the locker room too.
Sure.
You got to be able to read the body language. You got to be able to read what's going on in that huddle.
I mean, that's what got Mason benched for Duck.
Well,
yeah. Well, that's the one thing I'll say for Pickett. I mean, he seems to have that it factor, right? He comes in and he seems to have that presence about him that, it seems like he's going to make things happen. When it seems like the other guys on the field have confidence in him that he'll make things happen. And it seems like they have some confidence in Mitch. It just doesn't seem like the other guys on the field have that confidence in Mason that he's going to make things happen either.
That's fine.
And yeah, it's just, I don't know. Pickett just seems to have that it factor that he's now engineered 2, not game-winning drives, but 2 drives in the 2-minute drill to put points on the board when we needed it. And there were some runs after the catch and all that stuff.
But he operates fearlessly.
Yes.
Okay. He's going to make some mistakes, but he operates fearlessly, which is a comparison that you and I, Ian, made way back in the day, a couple years ago, not way back, about Duck Hodges, who was not a very talented quarterback. Let's be honest. And he made some mistakes, but when he made them without fear. And if he made a mistake, he'd come back the next play and he still had confidence in what he was trying to do. And you could tell he could see it. He just couldn't physically do it because it was the NFL level and it was over his head, and Pickett's got that, but he's a lot more talented than Duck.
Yeah.
Ryan had a point that I talked over. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, and everybody's going to call me a hater, but
hater.
Holy shit. Like,
I mean, you're wearing another, American League baseball cap tonight. I mean, what the hell?
At least it's not Baltimore.
Kirby Puckett, R.I.P.
At least Kirby Puckett, Baltimore this week.
R.I.P. Again, it's fucking preseason. I'm telling you this right now. I'm a Mason supporter, but no, I don't want him to start the season. Because you're right. I get a very stone-faced Mason, and he might make some throws, yes, I understand what you're talking about, the it factor with Pickett, but I'm going to tell you this right now, and I know you're going to fucking laugh because it's the Bungles, but like that fucking place is going to be fired up.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever. What's it called now? It's not Paul Brown Stadium anymore. It's not the Escalooser. It's
Porco Stadium or something.
It's some place that spent the most money on it.
Will not surprise me if they curb stomp the Steelers week 1.
Okay. And you know what? And people were shitting on Mike Hilton again this week because God forbid somebody leaves the Steelers because they didn't want to pay him, and he waves goodbye or he talks a little shit. Even though when the Steelers talk a little shit, it's everybody shut up. So my point is, I want Mitch Trubisky starting in Cincinnati because I think it's going to get ugly. I'm talking Mike Hilton pick 6 on the Steelers' first offensive possession.
Holy jeez, that's so far ahead. I can't think of that.
I'm talking Mike Hilton on a corner blitz six times that game.
So do you want to ruin Kenny Pickett right off the bat?
No.
Like Daniel Jones or Carson Wentz or way back.
I don't know. It worked out pretty well for Peyton Manning, and he got his ass kicked.
Even though David Carr won their first game against the Cowboys.
That's right.
But the point is, it's like, listen, I'm going to support Kenny Pickett. I didn't like the Pickett 20 at quarterback, but yes, Pickett does have that it factor. But it's the fucking preseason. Like, yeah, he's had some nice throws, but like, who's to say these guys don't give a shit about preseason? The guys that are trying to make the team do, but half the guys don't even dress. Like, it's not the same. It's not the same. I'm telling you right now.
No, I agree.
So for everybody that's on Kenny Pickett's nuts, which everybody's on Kenny Pickett's nuts right now, take a deep breath. Let it all unfold. I do not want him going into Cincinnati week 1 with that line.
No. I agree with you. But then I look at guys like Troy Aikman and Peyton Manning, who are Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they absolutely got the ever-living shit kicked out of them their rookie year.
Yeah.
And things worked out pretty well. But there are a lot of other guys that
it
ruined their confidence. How many
years ago, though, Ben?
It ruined their confidence, and
98,
they were never the same.
89?
Well, look, like Patrick Mahomes only started one game his rookie year, and it was week 17 when they had everything wrapped up, right? Like, there is some value to easing a guy in.
Sitting back and watching and learning.
Yeah.
So,
I'm okay with that.
Because some of it too, right? This was the thing we talked about with Mason and Ben that didn't happen with Mason and Ben. But I think like it seems like Pickett and Trubisky have a good enough relationship that this could happen, right? Trubisky comes off the field after a drive, whether it's a touchdown drive or it's an interception drive, whatever happens, right? Who's he going to sit next to on the bench to look at the pictures and say, this is what I saw out there. This is why I made this throw. Mason and Ben never did that. Ben did that with Josh Dobbs because Ben trusted Josh Dobbs. Ben never trusted Mason to do that with him. Ben did it with Landry Jones. Ben never trusted Mason. But, you know, if Pickett is the guy sitting next to Mitch Trubisky, there's some learning value in that. Even if he's not on the field, it's that I'm going to talk through this with somebody.
Yeah,
you know, and there's some value in that too. No, I agree. I'm saying week 10 against the Saints is when I would start.
Here's a crazy thought: what happens if Mitch, Kenny, and Mason are all fucking collaborating? Oh my God! Like, what teamwork and camaraderie, right?
I'll tell you right now, Scarps. What that means is that because Seven was in the house today, Seven's coming back.
I'm telling you this right now.
Right there.
Seven was there for mind games.
Okay, they're fucking with you guys right now. They're just fucking with you.
Hey, when Seven shows up, man, you know, I mean, it went nuts. I mean, oh my God, he wants to come back.
Mind games.
Jeez.
If all three quarterbacks are collaborating this year, that means the Steelers are paying $3 million for a third team backup, and Ben is pissed off. But setting that aside, Let's talk linebackers.
I do want to get to something else, right? The other surprising cut of the 5 that got the Steelers down to 80 this week was Jannard Avery.
This is funny.
Jannard Avery got cut. And look, if you talk to any of the beats, you talk to people that have been at camp watching and have watched the games like we have as well, Avery's played pretty well. And so it's kind of like, what the hell? Why did he get cut? And that leaves now Derek Tuska, and it leaves Delonte Scott.
Who they like. They like Scott.
Scott's been okay. He's long. He's tall, 6'5".
Yeah.
But what, Ben, what the hell? What, did you see this coming?
Hostages, not volunteers.
Well, that's the rumor.
Oh, excuse me. Volunteers, not hostages.
Right. The rumor is that he told Tomlin, I should be starting over Alex Highsmith. Tomlin didn't want to go with that like he had to last year with Melvin Ingram and just said, okay, bye-bye. That's the rumor.
Well, the rumor is that it was a little more forceful than that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, if you make me sit here and behind this guy, I'm not going to be happy. And it was more along the lines of, well, do you want to be here or not? And things worked out the way they did. Yeah, everybody was surprised. I was fucking shocked.
Yeah.
And again, my response at the time was, so what are they going to do? Put a safety or a cornerback at outside linebacker when Highsmith or Watt want to come off the field? Because we've seen Tuska, who's not good. This is another spot I can't believe they didn't add any depth to. They signed Avery, and it was like, okay, well, this guy, could be okay, and maybe he can play those spots. That's a good thing. That saves a roster spot. That's good. But obviously, again, it didn't work out. This is another depth signing at outside linebacker that didn't work out. I guess it's better to do it now than mid-season.
I agree. Yeah.
So that.
I'd much rather have this going on now.
There's that.
Yeah. So Ian, where does this go from here? I mean, they got to bring somebody in before the season starts.
You have to bring.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope. Fuck.
You have to.
I don't know. I mean, there's not much left on the free agent market right now. I mean, you basically are going to have to comb the scrap heap and see if somebody gets cut from another team. Kind of like a Quincy Roche, for instance. That one really burns me because they spent a draft pick on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they kept Jameer Jones over him, and then they cut Jameer Jones like 2 weeks later, and then Jones got picked up by the Rams and won a Super Bowl ring, which whatever. That's he was a backup. That's
good
fine.
for him.
Yeah, good for him. Like I don't hold it against Jameer Jones. He had one bad game. They cut him. And then Quincy Roche went and had a very decent season with the Giants. I'm like, you spent a draft pick on him. You guys thought this was a good player, and then you cut him. And I think, being a 6th round pick, I think they thought they could sneak him through on the waiver wire, get him on the practice squad, all that. And they obviously could not because the Giants picked him up. But, that's the one that really burns me right now with the depth, because Roche was decent for the Giants. And I'm kind of just sitting here like, man, if we just kept Quincy Roche, our edge depth would be a hell of a lot better right now than it is. Derek Tuska, to Ben's point, here's Derek Tuska's value. Derek Tuska's value is the 5 snaps a game that TJ Watt wants to take off. That when TJ Watt comes off the field and says, I want to break for this one snap, because that's what he does. He only comes off for one snap, and then he comes right back on. He doesn't take whole series off. He just takes his breather. Derek Tuska is good for that one snap every, 5 snaps a game, basically. That's about it. He should not be your number 3 outside linebacker, because Highsmith, in case anyone hasn't friggin' noticed, hasn't really played a whole lot this preseason. He's been hurt.
Yeah.
So you kind of need another guy or two there. So, yeah, we'll be probably combing the waiver wire. And, one other thing I've been thinking about, too, is, like, the way the injured reserve works, you have to keep a guy on your 53-man roster and then put him on IR if you want to be able to bring him back within a few weeks. So like the guy I'm thinking of is Calvin Austin, right? He's had a foot injury for a few weeks. They spent a decently high draft pick on him. He's making the team, but if he's not healthy enough, you can stash him on IR for 6 weeks and sign either another wide receiver back that you cut, or sign an outside linebacker off waivers. So I think that's the move, is they keep Calvin Austin, they put him on IR, and then they sign somebody else, basically what I'm saying is the 53-man roster that's the initial roster will not be the 53-man roster that they go into.
It never
with.
is.
There's going to be changes.
Right. Ryan, I wanted to ask you a question from your experience there. When all this stuff is happening, the transactions are flying so quickly and everything, and especially as you get towards the 53-man cutdown, do you get any in that PR position? Do you guys get any sort of like heads up before anything happens that hey guys, we're talking to a couple of players, or is it just always, hey guys, this is what we did, we need to get a press release out there, we need to do this? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, so like that was always, I mean, I'm so old, we had 4 preseason games. But like that was always like fucking bridge of size, man. Like you knew who, like I knew at least, however many guys weren't going to make it, right? So like you basically like have like a running list. Like you have the draft of the release going, and then you're just waiting to see like what positions you need to fill in or what names you need to fill in. And like literally our desks were our position where you had to walk past the trophies, and then to get to player personnel, you had to walk past our desks. So if you walk past our desks, I'm literally just like typing a name in the thing, because like I'm like, and I felt bad, but like I'm like, it's a business, it's what it is,
Oh shit, man, Scarpino's typing, I'm screwed.
Oh fuck yeah, I mean like I can't tell you the number of fucking poor souls that cross. And like anytime I'm a music guy, but anytime I think of Bridge of Size, I think of Robin Trower, who's one of the most underrated guitarists ever. But like just like literally. And like sometimes, like most of the time, they wouldn't say hello. They just keep walking. Right. But sometimes guys would be like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing?" I'd be like you poor bastard. Like it's all over. Like it's fucking over.
I mean, pretty much when they tell you to come to the office and bring your playbook, don't you know you're done? I mean,
yeah, but there was a chance you could get signed to the practice squad, but it's different now. Like back then, like if you played like you could have 3-year guys on a practice squad now. It's totally different. Like back then it was like, fuck, if you had half a season accrued, like you weren't even eligible anymore. It was really weird.
Very different now.
So, but I do remember if he's listening, but I remember one time, John Malecki, Pitt guy.
Yeah, I remember John.
He made the team.
Yeah.
And that night, I may or may not have met him on the south side to celebrate, and literally the next day he got fucking cut, and the Steelers signed Cody Wallace. And I forgot to tweet this week, but y'all remember Cody Wallace for the Steelers offensive lineman?
Yeah.
Yep. Cody Wallace. I mean, you might remember him because he was like shoving his fist in somebody's Miami Dolphins bum hole in 2013.
Yes.
Yes.
But when Marquise Pouncey went down in 2015 with that leg injury, Cody Wallace started every game. He started every game at center. He started multiple positions. Started a guard. That's the guy. Those are the guys the Steelers need to find now for this offensive line, and they just haven't done it. I know that's skipping a thing, but getting back to your point, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, we had an idea. There were some surprises every once in a while, but I mean. 80% you knew, 80% of the guys you knew, but there were a few times where guys would be walking down the hallway and be like, "Oh shit, man, I really thought he was going to make the team." Like, and you're like, well, if he makes the team, like, what name am I taking out? It was like a little board game, but at the end of the day, like, and I say this to everybody that's listening, all these guys are human beings. They have families, they have loved ones, and at the end of the day, like, they got to pay the bills too. So, like, before you go on Twitter and you say some hateful shit about somebody, you can make a joke or whatever, but when you start getting really, bad about that stuff, it's kind of like, these guys are, they breathe like us, they eat and sleep like us. They put their pants on like us. Like just take it easy. Like, I know you might hate Mason Rudolph for whatever particular reason, but like, he's just trying to fucking make a living just as Devin Bush is. So, cheers.
That's why I only post hateful shit about you guys, you three. Beyond that, I do not do that.
Yeah, well,
it's just it shouldn't be allowed.
The Lions come in on Sunday. Rumor has it the Lions are going to go with they're their starters for maybe a half, which would be really interesting.
Actually, I wanted to bring that up. That's if we want to see, Ryan made a good point earlier that like Mason played against the two, or Mason played against the threes. Pickett played against the twos. Mm-hmm. If we want to see Pickett get some action against the ones, this might be a good opportunity to start Pickett in this preseason game and see how he does against the Lions ones.
Yeah, it's a good thought.
Don't you guys think that they bench Trubisky though and start Mason?
No, I think they'll play Pickett for like 2 drives. Dan Campbell's gonna play his guys the whole first half, so or whatever he's gonna do. I think you start Pickett, play him like 2 drives against the ones just to see how he does, kind of like they did with Dwayne Haskins last year. Give him a start against the ones, see how he does, just to see, because it's a test. It's preseason, it doesn't count.
There's only 3 QBs now,
right?
So.
And then you bring Mason in and let him play the rest of the game.
If Mason ties this game, the nation will have a meltdown.
Can you imagine 2 straight ties against the Lions?
Again.
Well, I mean, the Steelers could give up 200 rushing yards to a bunch of nobodies on the Lions as well.
Seen that before.
I mean, whatever.
Hey, before we get out of here, any parting shots?
Are we leaving? Really?
Yes, okay. It's an hour and 5 minutes. These poor people have been with us the whole time.
No, they're hanging out.
All right, and I tweeted earlier this week because everybody thinks I'm a Kenny Pickett hater, but I just want to see, and I understand that you can throw a 5-yard or you can throw a 1-yard screen, which can turn into 80 yards, but I want to see down the field action, explosive play type of plays or potential type of plays with Kenny Pickett on the field.
At least give him the opportunity to make that read.
His longest pass this preseason is 24 yards, and that's like 45th out of any quarterback in the preseason that's attempted at least 20 passes. That's great that his quarterback rating is amazing. But listen, like there are things that I'd like to see, and I don't care what Steelers Twitter tells me. I have eyes too, and I want to see if Sunday night or Sunday afternoon at 4:30, if Kenny Pickett gets a series and goes 0 for 3, but every single one of his pass attempts was above 10 yards, I'd be like, fine, I don't give a shit. At least he tried. But this whole and they call it the Matt Canada offense. Let me see what we got. Like, come on. If you're going to give the guy the keys to the car, let him get every gear. You know what I mean? Like, this shouldn't be something. And I hope that they will, but we'll see.
Yeah. Ben, anything from you before we depart for the evening?
I, setting aside the whole cliche, I really hope we get out of this game without any injuries, because I do.
Absolutely.
I would like to see the defensive front perform better versus the run than they did this last week. And I'd really like to see the offensive line perform better, but I don't have a whole lot of expectation that's actually going to happen. But Dan Moore is the guy I'm going to pick on. That's the guy that I really expected to perform a lot better than he has. And if Dan in particular does not improve, it's going to be rough sledding this year for the Steelers. And I hate to put it all on one guy, but my expectations, well, James Daniel too, I had higher expectations for him too. But, the rest of those guys I just didn't have very high expectations for. And Dan Moore, I didn't expect him to be stellar.
No.
But I expected him to be at least decent. I truly did. By the end of the year last year, he was not a good left tackle, but I was kind of thinking to myself, he's getting to the point where he can kind of hold his own. It's good. And next year, again, after a whole year of weight training and off-season training, and looking back on the lessons that he learned this year through getting his ass kicked, he'll be better, and he'll eventually round into a good tackle, eventually. And all I wanted to see him be this year was just middling, semi-respectable.
Yeah.
And he's not there yet.
No.
So I really want to see that out of this game.
Yeah, I just want to see, and I know the Lions are real high on both their defensive line and offensive line, which I think is good for us this week. I think we need to be able to handle a team that's being aggressive, that's coming after us in both sides, and if we can, great. Then we use it as a building block, and if not, then holy shit.
Balls.
Yeah, that's balls. Yeah. Ian, anything final from you, or are you good?
I got 2 parting shots.
Go for it.
First off, congratulations to the Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania Little League team that went to the Little League World Series, lost their opening game to Texas, battled through the elimination bracket all the way to I don't know what it was, but they won like 6 games in a row in the elimination bracket. Maybe it was less than that, whatever it was. They won a bunch of games, got to play Texas again in like, I guess what was the semifinals or something like that, and lost again. But, a great run for the kids from Pennsylvania in the Little League World Series. That was really cool to see.
Yeah.
And secondly, high school football in Western Pennsylvania starts this week, and you can check out all of my stuff on SteelCityBlitz.com with Western Pennsylvania high school football previews, and also check out the Whippeal Blitz Show on YouTube. Just search for Whippeal Blitz Show. You'll find it. We've got season previews and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And the Whippeal Blitz Twitter.
And the Whippeal Blitz Twitter. That's
right. And it's the best coverage of Whippeal.
It is.
I'm supposed to say that because it's on our site, but it's
also true.
And it just is. You talk to anybody, they'll tell you it is. And real quick, too, on that same high school note, shout out to my kid. He was named a captain yesterday. And
nice.
Yeah. All right. That's awesome.
So, yeah, he's very, very excited. All 5'9", 190 pounds of him. He'll be starting at nose tackle tomorrow night. And who knows? He might play a little tight end. He might play. He might be kicking. Who the hell knows? Kid's gonna be doing everything. But that's great. That's what you want. And so yeah, good luck to them. But thanks again for everybody that joined us on the live broadcast. Really appreciate you guys listening and commenting. And we try to interact as much as possible. But and of course, thanks to Pigskin Podcast Network for hosting us, DraftKings Sportsbook, and of course our terrific sponsor, Deck Roofing Incorporated of South Florida. This is Steel Dad signing off for all of us on the SCB Steelers Podcast. And hey, go Steelers!
Ravens suck.